Here we go. Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner. Classic is no classic. This is episode number 3483. Doubleshot number 3377. I have two Superman trades. One, also that came out just like, I think it was like a year ago, I think it was. The other one basically was released in the 70s. First we have is Superman by Joshua Williamson, Volume 4, Rise of Superwoman. This book collects Superman Volume 6, issues 1923, and the Superwoman special. Yeah, it's been a while since I've discussed this book, this run. There's a reason for that, and that is because my local Barnes & Noble didn't have this book. Nope, they did not have this book at all. I was wondering for the longest time, why didn't they get the book for? I had orders online in order to get this book, but now I did. And, well, basically, of course, Josh Williamson obviously on the writing with artwork by Dan Moria, Edward Goldman, Laura Bergoria, and Nikila Kazmagia. So, in the case of Dan Moria, he was actually at Comic-Con, but he actually online. So, I didn't get a chance to meet him, sadly. I wish I did. So, we start in the future, look like Superman's basically on fire from what appears to be the Time Traveler at the end of time. And basically this storyline here sets up the events of KO. That's pretty much what the storyline is. And so with Lois, all about this various stuff like G. Kirby with Mercy, with Blue Earth thing. And then of course basically like then Lois becomes Superwoman. You're probably thinking, when the heck that happened? Well, they kind of explained this in the Superwoman special, which they put right after this one. It just happens completely, like, kind of random. And basically, the first person they fight here is the Atomic Skull. Now, this is actually, the Atomic Skull appearance here is not the original Atomic Skull. This is the second one. So I deal with him because is Atomic Zeus eating out of his house. So to deal with him, there's a flashback to Lex in his war armor. Lex, of course, got amnesia at this point in time. And then all of a sudden, frickin' Doomsday shows up. Yes, Doomsday's here. And it's flashbacks to when Doomsday kills Superman. And then the Time Traveler shows up. Now, the thing with Time Traveler is he's a long time Legion Superheroes villain. Except this Time Traveler is different. Because the Time Traveler is frickin' Doomsday. Yep. And this is his first debut. Yep. And there's lots of nods to the original Death of Superman storyline with the outfit. And the kind of almost various times that Superman has fought Doomsday. It's like Joshua Williamson made the storyline sort of a semi-love letter to the classic Death of Superman. Yes. So we do Doomsday here, and then of course basically the Parasite shows up, who is actually reformed, by the way, thanks to Supercore. So and then Doomsday proceeds to rip him in half, kind of almost killing the Parasite, but he is stopped. And basically to keep him contained. So then, with of course Lois got this burn mark on her shoulder. Obviously, her awesome husband basically just blows on her shoulder. You think, what? Will it go away? No, he actually just frees it on, which is not a bad idea to do. So, and then of course this whole rest of the storyline here becomes where this whole thing of like trying out her powers. We have these various interludes. One of basically Jimmy with his awesome girlfriend, So Banshee, which, yeah, this girlfriend, this relationship came completely out of nowhere when this volume started, and they've been a great couple. As of currently, they're still dating. And then frickin' Amethyst shows up. Yes, Amethyst, which I think last time she appeared, she had a miniseries. Yep. And then there's stuff here with Doomsday. And they resolve that. And then we have Lex and Mercy Graves having coffee. And it's implied Lex is slowly getting back his memory by remembering what exactly her coffee tastes like. How she takes her coffee. And then of course, they're hit by a bunch of spaceships because people who worship Doomsday. And basically, Superman deals with them. It just sort of after effect. Of course, Supergirl's here too. Before they give her own solo book. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And of course, we have supposedly Superman and Doomsday teaming up, and of course, we have Superman giving her awesome boyfriend a lift. Like how nice, basically, of how nice, basically, of a girlfriend is Jimmy. And then, of course, basically. And the time Chap meets up with Lois. Because the whole Doomsday cult thing. Yep, and then Lex comes in with a big gun. Blast bunch them. Keeps them contained. Jimmy's in the hospital. Of course, Banshee herself is very unhappy with Superman. Yeah. Then we have stuff here with Zod. Yes, Zod. Where apparently he is... Or then we have the time travel confronted by... the Legion of Doom. Well, the Dark Side Legion of Superheroes. Yeah. The Corruptiverse, almost in the Absolute Universe. Which I think at the time when this came out, this was the first thing they've been seeing since the All-in-One shot. And basically this ending sets up the very next story arc. And this one shot is simply put just... It's a original. It's basically how she got her powers. She meets up here with Lana, who is the... this continuity's first Superwoman. Which of course they ignore the fact also in here that there was another Superwoman, which was New 52 Lois Lane, which she died. And this is kind of... Williamson kind of reiterated the idea of having Lois Lane being Superwoman. So... It's basically the three just interacting, and of course, basically her getting her powers. She got understanding her powers, telling her awesome husband. Mr. Terrific is here with the two atoms, because the whole thing with the Atom Project, it's loose time for that. But if you read this book, there's actually one person missing from this book. You want to know who that is? John. Yeah, John is nowhere to be seen in this book. Probably because Williamson did not want to deal with the whole gay John Kent thing. That's my guess. But this book is really good. I give this book roughly a 10 out of 10. Really good. Next up, we're going to pure classic territory with DC's finest, Superman, Kryptonite, no more. This collects Action Comics 393 to 406. Oh, the Superman story from that one. And Superman 233, 238, and 240, 246. Like, wow, a lot of stuff here. Well, I've already discussed these Superman issues already, thanks to those are trade paper that collect Superman issues have this very same cover. So we'll talk about the Action Comics issues. Now, for the Action Comics issues, this is interesting. So, from 393 to I think it was... What issue was? I think it was like 400 and something, I think it was. I think it was up to 402, I think it was, where they did pretty much collect the whole entire issue. Starting with 403, they don't do that, because with 403, they just collect just Superman stories, because there's also, basically 403, this book collects the first two Superman stories. The first two stories in that one, because the other two stories originally I think is Superboy. For 404, it's the opening and final story. For 405, same thing, opening and final story. And 406, pretty much the same thing. This one is basically had three stories, but because at this period of time, the series brought back the whole idea of having other characters, having backup features in this book, and so basically you have From Superman 3, Action was 393, you have Superman Super Houdini, and the day Superboy becomes Superman. That's in 393, and that is pretty much the whole entire story issue there. The other stories here are Miles Metropolis, Record of Hot Rod, Secret Superman's Fortress, The Credit Card of Catastrophe. They kind of basically flop back and forth by putting these stories out of order for some reason, not sure why. The Super Handler of Metropolis, that's from Action Comics 396. Secret of the Wheelchair Superman, that's from 397. Invaders of Nowhere, New Year's Beginning from Superman in 1971, that's from Action Comics 396. From 397, it's Super Captain C. Then there's the Superman stories here from 398, The Pied Piper of Steel, and Spawn of the Unknown. From Action Comics 299, Superman, you're dead, dead, dead. Superboy's Lost World, that's from 399. From 400, My Son is Man or Beast, Duel of Doom. 401, Heroes Go Home and The Boy Cried Big to Die. 402, The Hostage Must Die, and Few the Titans. From 403, Attack of the Michael Murder and the Man Who with the Extra Mind. 404, Neo Your Conqueror. They Killed Clark Kent. Spin the Bike or Assassin, the most dangerous bug in the world. Master Miracles, the ghost that haunted Clark Kent. And that's it. Most of the covers that we did by Neil Adams are Neil Adams, Constantino, or Kurt Swan. Starting off with basically the opening story of the first X-Men shooting here. Sorry about that. Which is Superman Super Houdini, basically a guy who's like a Monday Houdini, and he kind of has to deal with him. He does crazy stunts. He breaks out stuff. And then we have a pinup page of early shots of his career. And then we have the Superboy became Superman. It's basically like the last day of Superboy's career as Superboy before becomes Superman. That's kind of what the story is, but it's really good. And then we have Miles Metropolis, where Superman basically deals with the counterfeit ring. Yep. It also burns the counterfeit money. Everyone thinks it's real, but no, it's fake. It's fake money. Yep. As for the second story, Rick Hot Rod, that's basically Superman dealing with his deadly hot rods, like his old school Model Ts. And then we have A Girl Mightier Than Superman. Yeah, first they have Secrets of the Fortress of Solitude, which basically the whole opening story bit here for Secrets of Superman's Fortress, it's a tour of the Fortress of Solitude. That's simply what it is, and Lois is here throughout this, and it has a little adventure here too. Really fun story here. And then we have The Credit Card of Catastrophe. Well, it's basically, fortunately, get some bad advice to Superman. We also see Supergirl make an appearance here. And of course, they're putting here the Superman story. Skip over that one. Then we have, so they kind of have it where 96, 97, where they kind of intersect with each other. That's the reason why that they actually had basically the whole thing of like of the opening stories of 386, 387 is that the reason why they're like connected with you like this. I have the book here because it's a two-part story of basically a powerless Superman who's to reduce their wheelchair. It's a tale from the future, and In the case of Tales of the Fortress, Vader's of Nowhere, this is basically Superman just deal with some aliens called the Seekers. Yep. Super Captain of the Sea. Superman teams up with Supergirl, deal with an alien. Well, a group of aliens. So, by the way, who was the writer of these issues? Well, for Super Dini, it's Leo Duffman. Yeah, he's our primary writer here for these stories here. With the awesome Kurt Swan and the artwork. And so far, this point is just Leo Duffman. He's our primary writer for these stories here. No change here. So for $3.98, the Pied Piper Steel, where Morgan Edge appears, and it's basically just a guy who is kind of basically a take on the Pied Piper with electronics. Yes. And in the case of Supergirl, Superman and Supergirl Spawn the Unknown, it's just some creature they have to deal with in Africa. For $399, basically it's like, Superman, you're dead. Yeah, Superman has to deal with a bunch of copies of him basically dying and trying to solve those story. And they have Soup Baby, Soup Boy's Lost World. Yeah, it's a flashback story. He was infant. And also apparently that 434 of Batman is basically a nod to this. That came out roughly 18 years later. For issue 400, we have the sole appearance of a guy known as, well, Gregor Nagy, who basically was a shapeshifter into a werewolf, who only appears sadly in this one issue. He was the adopted son of Superman. Then you have Duel of Doom, where it's two Kandorians deal with another like old demon god of Kandor. And still, we're at this point, no change in the creative team. And then we have Invaders Go Home, where it's basically Superman deal with Native Americans. Yeah, that's basically what the opening story was. The backup story, just Superman, just Clark gives some townspeople. It's also the backup story in this one is not done by Leo Duffman. This one done by Carrie Bates. So you got Kurt Swan the artwork. For 402, yeah, Superman's nearly doing the stake. The Hodgson must die. Yeah, and that's so by Leo Duffman here. Then the backup story is deal with like two Titans per se. It's just a little rivalry between Superman and Supergirl. That's in this story here. Yeah, and they comment about the Supergirl's costume, but it was basically a new design, designed by Wonder Woman. 403, the first issue to feature more of the Superman stories. So both the the opening Superman story, Attack of the Micro Murderer, that is done by Carrie Bates, with still Kurt Swan the artwork. Yeah, and basically Micro Murderer is simply put. Creature invades Superman's body and Supergirl has to deal with it. Man with X-ray mind, it's somebody who's, well, like Superman. So the Vigilante story is a reprint. So is the Action Comics, the Super story, when Krypto was Superboy's master, that's a reprint. So don't need to worry about those. For 404, so Neo to conquer Superman. It's Superman knew this guy called Rufus Caesar. Yeah, it's basically a guy who thinks he's basically Julius Caesar from Rome. Yeah, and the Adam story, it's a reprint. So is Aquaman. It's a reprint. The Day They Killed Clark Kent. Yeah, it's basically just Superman deals with eternity. Moving on. For 405, Cary Bates does the Superman Bodyguard Assassin story, and he also does Superman's Most Dangerous Bug in the World. Now, is in fact the Vigilante Aquaman story those reprints? Yes, they are. They are in fact reprints. So, in the Superman Bodyguard Assassin, he basically is bodyguard for the President of the U.S. I'm thinking at this point it must have been Nixon, but they probably had a stand-in for him. Most dangerous bug in the world? Yeah, it's the whole thing about a bugging device. And moving on to 406, our last one here, which features the Atom story, which is basically a reprint. Yep, it's a reprint. Where Superman Master Miracles, it deals with a Kryptonite villain who basically uses these weird, it's basically kind of like an evil Superman kind of, but it only appears as one story here. As for Untold Tales, The Ghost of Colin Clark Kent, it's a ghost story one. Yeah, and kind of in the way, I just kind of in the way covered it for Action Comics 293 to 406. You probably think that, well, the main reason I think I covered this one, because the stories for Vigilante, Aquaman, and the Atom all reprint stories, so there's that. But this book is pretty good overall. Give roughly 10 out of 10. Now, in the case of Superman DC Finest books, well, I don't think there was a lot left. Yeah, there's not really a lot been released for Superman, sadly. There's a lot of Batman ones released. Oh gosh, yes, a lot of Batman. Excuse me. So for Superman, this is pretty much basically only one of two that I play out that I had that were basically when I read them. For reading this book, is no, I did not read the stories in that one. So there's a Wonder Woman one where I pretty much read everything in it, except for the Brave and the Bold issue. Yeah, I probably need to check something. I do have another DC Finest book, which I have not reviewed the stuff in there yet. I read them, I haven't reviewed them yet, but there's a small handful of stuff here, but I'm looking forward to discussing more of the DC Finest books. Yep. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe to notifications. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and start doing Metal Heroes. Let's get done my 3 anime first. First being, Welcome to Davis Grabercon. Okay, next video. Bye.